What is up, guys? My name is BobaTalks and welcome to my Arrow Season 6 Episode 5 review. Now, this episode was actually a really cool episode. We've got the Vigilante reveal, we got a kick-ass episode with Deathstroke, of course, but I was about to say the Deathstroke combat scene, that was just intense. And we've got quite a few other things that were cool, which I'll get to, and also a nice setup for next episode. But let's get into this. So in this episode, Slade contacts Oliver because he needs help finding his son. And he tells Oliver that he's actually gone by his mother's maiden name, which is Kane, and it's not Joe. And much like his father Slade, he joined the Australian intelligence service, and he ended up dealing arms. And throughout most of this episode, we were led to believe that he was serving a life sentence for being caught. Now, I was quite surprised that Felicity encouraged Oliver to go along, and there was a big question between Oliver stepping between the two worlds that Slade mentioned in previous episodes, and how he promised to William that he wouldn't actually, break the rule that he made for himself, that he was outside the life of being the Green Arrow now, and he was strictly just the father and mayor of Star City. But I thought it was quite cool how Felicity encouraged him to go, and even William, to be honest. It was kind of behind the scenes, but they mentioned how Oliver would talk to William, and Felicity mentioned to him that maybe he might be more understanding than you think. But stepping aside from that story for a minute, we got a few other things in this episode. One being that annoying FBI Special Agent Watson, who was sniffing around absolutely everyone in this episode, whether it be Diggle, who said that, he thinks he might have been able to push her off and it wasn't so bad, but then before you know it, Felicity got contacted, which actually really bothered me, this part. We saw Felicity come in to the FBI agent's office, and literally she was there probably, maximum 20 seconds, amongst acting awkward as well when asked about how she was meant to be an alibi for Oliver Queen on all the nights the Green Arrow was active. Not only was she very just awkward and just totally giving it away, to be honest. I don't see why you believe that, but as soon as she arrived, she got a text for a quote-unquote coffee date, and she was out of there within 20 seconds, so that just felt weird to me. I don't think that scene was that great. I really think they probably shouldn't have even included it, just like how they didn't include Wild Dog's scene, they didn't include Diggle's scene, I don't believe. I mean, unless you count when the FBI agent went to the crime scene from where the beginning of the episode started with the sniper. But yeah, I thought that scene was really bad. It should have been rethought or just left out completely. But talking about the sniping scene, which actually was from the beginning of the episode, which how Dinah somehow miraculously spotted, because it turns out that Vigilante in this episode was after the councilwoman who was responsible for the anti-Vigilante bill. So it kind of makes sense, I guess, in Vigilante's mind why he would want to go after her. But in this episode, guys, we got the reveal. So this part of the episode was fairly textbook. Since Vigilante was after this councilwoman who was all for this anti-Vigilante bill, Dinah Drake waited outside the councilwoman's house, and lo and behold, Vigilante went to try and kill her for a second time, but that is when they got a bit of a fight after Dinah used a Canary cry which shattered his mask. He took his mask off, and it turned out to be none other than her old boyfriend Vincent, as well as her old partner when they were cops. Now, what did I think of this reveal? It was okay. It wasn't amazing, but it wasn't extremely bad. I wish it was somebody else. I feel like Captain Pike would have been a little bit more exciting maybe, but at the same time, I don't think it was that bad, because it had a kind of cool background, because we learned at the end of the episode that when a cop was just about to shoot Dinah, Vigilante jumped in the way and he got shot in the head. And to be honest, I thought that was it. I was like, well, they just completely wanted to write off that story. But no, it turns out he's a metahuman as well, and he can literally survive bullets to the head. Now, they didn't explain whether it's all the bone in his body, or if it's the skin that allows it to sort of just poke out, or if it's really strong tissues or whatever, or is it just his head that just stops him from dying? I don't know. They didn't really explain that, but I kind of thought that was cool. But as I said, it's just like an underwhelming reveal, and I feel like the reception for this reveal as well is kind of similar to what I think. It wasn't that amazing. But I'd love to know your thoughts about Vigilante being Dinah Drake's ex-boyfriend and partner in the comments below. But also, stepping aside for a second, on that scene just before Dinah got shot, when Vigilante entered the building where the councilwoman was for the last time, I didn't like how quick Dinah just got dressed. 1 second, just as the FBI agent mentioned right at the end of the episode, when she was basically accusing her of being the Black Canary, that she was there in a cop uniform for 1 second, then the lights went out, and literally in the episode she just appeared in a Black Canary costume. Now, I know that's comic booky, but I don't know. I expect a teeny bit more realism when it comes to these shows. Maybe I'm being a bit too nitpicky, but I don't know. When I saw that, normally there's not a whole lot of that on these CW shows. I feel like this was a bit too obvious. It was just like, okay, the CW, or should I say Arrowverse or whatever, that was too quick. Like, she shouldn't have got changed that quick. Maybe she shouldn't have even got changed at all. She could have just been her cop self. She's got the Canary cry. She could have just stood in the way of that cop or just diverted his attention somehow. But to get changed that quickly into the Canary costume, put all that makeup on, under eyes, well, that just, no, literally that happened within 2 seconds. Now, also in this episode, we got some Slade Wilson flashbacks. I think there was around 3 or 4 of them. I thought they were really cool. They were really nice and set up a bit of background to the whole story, and also the leading bridges and background into Lian Yu, because during this camping trip, during the flashbacks, which is kind of, I felt sorry for his kid Joe. The whole trip and probably point of that camping trip was so he could do that special agency work that he was doing for the Australian intelligence. We learned that the reason why he was after his target is because he wanted to find out about Yao Fei, and obviously this was all around 13 years ago in this flashback. And I also like the little Ferris Air Easter egg as well, which is obviously a Green Lantern thingy, because Joe was asking about his job and what he does, and during all of that conversation Ferris Air got dropped again, but that's quite a common teaser because it was mentioned recently on The Flash, I believe, as well. Now back to the whole Oliver and Slade stuff. They went to Kaznia because they wanted to find the son, and when they got there, it turns out that he supposedly died. But when they went to press upon it further and see the body, they found out that the warden was lying because his family got threatened. But it turns out that Joe was taken by these people known as the Jackals. Now this leads me to talk about that amazing Deathstroke combat scene, which I thought was just brilliant. I just felt like it really lived up to and how badass Deathstroke really is. It was just fantastic, really well filmed, really well shot. It was just perfect. But this is where we met Nylander again. But it turns out he was supposedly at this point, is, well, for what I was believing initially, the leader of the Jackals. But it turns out that he was only working for Slade's son. So I thought that was actually a pretty good twist. Now, I did see some of this stuff coming a little bit. I didn't think that Nylander was the boss. Just like Slade said in the episode, he's too stupid to run a group like that. But Slade's son, Kane, or if you want to call him Joe, is actually the leader of the Jackals, and I'm extremely excited for what is to come in the next episode, because this is a two-parter Deathstroke story. It's just going to be amazing. The emotion that was in Manu Bennett's eyes as well when he saw his son was really just, you know, it really hit me in the feels. And even Oliver looking at, you know, Slade, that was really sad as well, because he was just, you know, after all of that, this happened. You know, it turns out that his son is the bad person, and the whole episode as well was about, you know, Slade feeling bad. He never gave his son a proper childhood. He feels like he didn't tell him that he loved him, and maybe he, in part, I feel like what conveyed across on the screen is that he feels completely responsible for the man that his son has become, especially as himself was Deathstroke. I thought Manu Bennett was brilliant in this episode. I really liked the scenes where they actually first met with Nylander, and, you know, he says Mirakuri did wondrous things for you, or something, a line something like that. And Slade just looked really, you know, touched in a bad way by that, because he's really ashamed of the monster that he became during season 2 and before that even. And I'm just really glad that they added bits like that into this episode, because it really just does show that the man that Slade has become now versus the person that he was, and other people complimenting him for Mirakuri just is the complete wrong thing to do. I also enjoyed the flashbacks for this episode. I'm hoping for more Slade and son flashbacks next episode. The FBI agent woman is starting to annoy me, but I guess she's meant to. She's meant to be snuffing out everything Oliver Queen and Green Arrow and the surrounding circle. So I guess, you know, she's doing a good job of annoying me, because that is probably and obviously a part of her role, so she's acting that pretty well. As for Vigilante, I don't know how I properly feel about him. As I said, I don't think it's as bad as some people are making it out to be, and I think hopefully with the development of this character, if they're keeping him around, this actor, because he did get recast from the person we saw get hit by the dark matter wave, as well as Dinah way back last season. So maybe if they're planning to keep that actor around throughout this season, or maybe the first half, that'd be pretty cool. We get to see a bit more about him. I got a feeling they will, because obviously there's unfinished business between him and Dinah, and you know, maybe he could become a little bit of an asset to Team Arrow, but at the same time I feel conflicted saying that, because obviously there was a lot of tension between Team Arrow and Vigilante last season. So would he really stop his ways of being a vigilante versus Team Arrow's ways of being vigilantes? But let me know your thoughts on this episode in the comment section down below, guys. I really enjoyed it. It was amazing, mainly because it's obviously Deathstroke Returns, and next episode I'm sure is going to be good as well. Let me know what you're most excited about for next episode, and let me know what you enjoyed most in this episode. But other than that, guys, if you enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate it if you left a like on it, as it really does show your support for the channel. And if you want to stay a bit more up to date with me personally, you can do so by following me on social media. The link should be popping up on the screen around here, or you can click on one of them in the description below. But other than that, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.